What up, guys? It's going down. All hell is breaking loose. You have to flee from your house. But first, you stop by the freezer and pick up your survival seed pack. That's what we're talking about today. We're debunking the prepper myth of the value of survival seed packs. And first off, hopefully you're storing like organic varieties, heirloom varieties. If you're playing with hybrid seeds, they don't work nearly as well year after year after year. We could talk about this in itself for a long time, but most of the crops that are grown in your grocery store or for bulk commodity markets are proprietary seed that, well, I mean, if everything's gone to hell, it doesn't matter if you propagate those seeds, but they're not going to produce true to the seed that grew the year before. So there's GMO seeds, but mainly hybrid seeds is when they take one plant and another plant and pollinate them with each other, and then through genetics you get, in this process of hybrid vigor, you get the next plant, or the next generation of plants has the best of both worlds. But if you plant that seed, now you're going in, remember, like the Punnett square from middle school, you have a wide variety of plants. So it doesn't grow true to seed. So hopefully you're planting and dealing with heirloom variety packets. But in that, will there be a palate or acclimation process? Excuse me. You've accumulated these seeds, but are they seeds that you're eating and that like you enjoy? And we say all the time, if you're not storing what you like to eat, what's the purpose of storing it to begin with? I'm looking at the back of these plants, or of these things, and it has plants like asparagus, arugula. Let's just run through. So, asparagus, that takes 3 years to harvest. So, I mean, it's one of the first things that comes up in the spring, but 3 years to harvest. Arugula, almost zero nutritional value. Beans, okay, great. What type of beans are they? We have beets in here. Okay, that's okay, cool. Broccoli, early season vegetable, like when it's colder. But did you know in Henry County, where we are, there's no producers growing broccoli successfully because the weather changes too quickly and we start to see that broccoli bolt. We've done it here, we've got a little bit, but not nearly enough to make like a profitable harvest from the broccoli. And that's what the agricultural census is that like no one's growing broccoli where we are. Brussels sprouts, everybody kind of hates those, right? Cabbage, great. Cantaloupe, now we're into like more summer season. Carrots, okay, back to more I guess like early fall. Well, you could get the split on those. I think you can do those twice a year, though I've never had success with carrots here because they're really, really difficult to germinate. Celery, cool, no nutritional value. Collards, I don't really like them. Corn, okay, great. What kind of corn is it? Cucumbers, very fun. Eggplant, that has like a giant window of growing it to the time that you're going to need it. Honeydew, love it. Kale, a little bit of nutritional value. Lettuce, very little nutritional value. Onions, wonderful. Peas, okay, cool. That's now winter, and then over winter time, if it's a winter pea, that's what we grow most of the time, and then in the springtime it works out. Peppers, we'll talk about those in a second. Pumpkins, okay, great. Radishes, rutabaga, spinach, squash, sunflowers. Are you even eating sunflowers? Swiss chard, tomato, watermelon. Cool. There's some seeds in here, but what I'm noticing is that like, hopefully you're in the planting zone these will work in. We're in 7A here, and so let's say you are in the planting zone. Hopefully you didn't kick rocks and have to bug out in the wintertime. Hopefully it's not the fall because only a couple of those things are going. And if it's the wrong time planting, you're going to be screwed. I was reading something the other day talking about how like invading armies through history like to invade in the spring because the populations have depleted their resources. They go back to planting, and then the invading army can interrupt that food cycle. So you're already diminished the folks by like starving them out through the winter into the spring. They've depleted their rations. New stuff's coming in. People are nervous, can't get it right. I just thought that was really interesting. Timing is so important when you plant your seeds. So everything has to be perfect for this survival seed pack to mean anything to you. Remember yesterday we talked about the Lykov family and how they essentially bugged out to Siberia. But the debate from that family was regularly, do we eat these seeds now or do we plant them and hopefully have a little bit of harvest? And that just speaks to like how hungry these folks were. So hopefully the season is great, and you're really banking on like everything being ideal for this to work out. Like what's the pH of the soil where you're going to be? How much organic matter is there? Is there any contaminants from heavy metals or like runoff from a road? Maybe that doesn't matter. You know, survival is like the mitigation of risk factors. But if it's not the right time, if it's not the right pH, if the soil is bad, you've wasted a lot of energy. We talk about calories out, calories in. You've put in a lot of calories out for not a whole lot of calories in here. And a lot of time in like harvesting, right? So would you be better off just sticking with traps, or tracking and trapping, excuse me, and like wildcrafting and foraging, than like carrying around a seed vault. Now, how many seeds are in here? Either I haven't even opened this. That's not something I know. So we talked about no new gear the other day. If this is your first time with the survival seed kit, you don't know what you're getting, and you might be really disappointed. So get two and play with one before before you're there on the day where you actually need it. So let's say the lots of organic. We've got really good organic matter in the place that we've bugged out to. We've got lots of like really good pH in the soil. We've got lots of sunlight. We've got the right season, the right timing. I saw tomatoes and peppers in here. And for those to work at all where we are, like you pretty much have to start them in a greenhouse. Otherwise, the plants just like don't produce a fruit fast enough. So, like, is there a greenhouse there? How are you going to protect the plants as these things are started? How are you going to water them? To germinate the seed? Do some of them require like stratification, or like do you need to like cool the seeds? And like some seeds require like freezing to like spark that germination cycle. So we're just more and more issues with the seed kit. Do you know about companion planting? It's when two plants come together that really like each other, that like help like jump out, like carrots and tomatoes. That's like the famous example from the book Carrots Love Tomatoes, which I don't have on my desk, but I should. It actually is probably up in the greenhouse of the shop. But it talks about like what plants you can plant next to each other, and increase the harvest, like double cropping, double planting. But on the flip side of that, there are plants that don't want to be planted anywhere near each other. And so, like, do you know how to lay out your garden? Very important. How are you going to turn the soil? Are you going to use a digging stick? Are you going to have a fire and do like the like put your seeds and compost and everything in like your biochar that you're making, as we talked about, like terra preta in the how the Amazon was formed, and like the large scale planning of like movement around the Amazon that gave birth to this like giant food forest. Is that how you're going to do it? Hopefully, again, your timing is right on that. Or you're going to plant like a victory garden design. If you're doing that, chances are you're going to need to turn the soil. How are you going to do that? Are you going to do it with a digging stick, or are you going to like use a tractor? Like, the questions abound with like, how are you going to manage your garden? Are you toting a broad fork with you? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered before you get your seed kit. But ultimately, like, the nutritional value of this is really lacking. Just running through here, there's no starches. There's no like potatoes, which are difficult to start from seed. There's only that like Clancy potato that I know is really good from seed. You might be better off with like just some sweet potatoes in your bag, truthfully. But there's not a lot of nutrition here. Sure, things are great. You get some sugars from like the honeydew and the watermelon and like a tasty. But we need starches, right? And the saying is, we got to put meat on the table, and that's not doing a whole lot. This is like your survival garnish kit, really. So the nutritional value isn't there. Is there really a balanced diet in this? Not really. Again, no starches, no sweet potatoes. It's all just like vegetables, you know. And like, what's the cost of these things too? These things are expensive, probably because they're like Mylar sealed and like have probably some storage things in here. Again, I don't know because I haven't opened this one, but you know, these things are way more expensive than going to the seed store and storing your seeds in the ground. So this is why we talk about the prepping to production pipeline all the time, going from storing stuff in your bag to storing food in on the hoof or in your neighbor's stomach or in your own stomach before it goes into the refrigerator. The best place, that African proverb that we talk about all the time, the best place to store food is in your neighbor's belly. So we have to move from this like prepping to production pipeline, and that's really the purpose of this video. These seeds are much better stored in your garden, planted now, than they are in your backpack, in your freezer, waiting for shit to hit the fan. And then do you know how to propagate the seeds once you've planted them? So a whole lot of knowledge has to go in to this like bug out survival garden, and part of that is what we teach in our survival essentials classes. But we're really focused on like putting meat on the table, right? And vegetarians, I'm sorry, but protein is the building block of like the natural world, and it's a really privileged position to say, oh, I'm going to go back to nature and only eat vegetables. So if you made it this far, I know you're serious and passionate for life and serious about surviving whatever the universe throws at you. You could drop us a like at sustainablehomestead.com. Subscribe to these videos so you never miss the information. But again, sustainablehomestead.com is the place for all this information. Look through our resource guides. Join our Homestead Mastermind. It's a group of like-minded people trying to build abundance for themselves, their families, and their communities. You can ask questions, pull from the knowledge of experienced bushcrafters, farmers, ranchers, project managers, makers. It's really a wonderful group, and it will shave decades off the time it would take you to figure this stuff out on your own. Ultimately, if you want the distillation of the knowledge, you can join us for an in-person class. Either book one privately with your own group or sign up to one of the larger classes that's just open to the public. And we'd love to see you out here because we know that preparation today means peace of mind tomorrow. So we'll see you in the future. Thanks for watching again.